All right, welcome to the Shoot to Hunt podcast. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Avery.
Ryan Avery.
And my color commentator today is Jake Mushaney.
What are we talking about today?
The 6UM.
Uh-huh.
The 6UM. It started out, actually, to start in the beginning, we have a friend who's kind of nameless. His name is, we'll call him Forum. Big, huge fan of the 6mm, and he got me thinking more and more about the 6mm and making a ultimate 6mm, I guess. So obviously, if you're going to talk about brass, you're going to bring in Jake. So we started talking about making the biggest 6mm on the market.
You were trying to figure out which 6mm case to go with that already existed, basically.
Yeah.
So you were comparing existing cartridges.
So the first thing we grabbed was the 26 Nosler.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it was me and Blaine tried to neck that down to see how it'd go, and instantly the side of the neck cracked. And then we remembered it was Nosler brass, so not great brass, so we didn't want to go that route.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think go ahead, tell your side. We brought you into the story.
Yeah, 26 Nosler is a 6.5.
Yep. Trying to neck it down to
still
6.
a long action cartridge.
Overbore.
Which that would have been, 6UM is already overbore. That would have been King Kong overbore. It may not even have worked. Maybe been a 5-shot wonder. Never know.
Yeah, hard to say.
So we were talking about, and you were necking down to 6.5, and I think we started going through, and then we moved to short action, and we talked about 6.5 PRC, 6.5 SOM. ADG makes great 6.5 SOM brass, and necking down from 264 to 243. You really don't want to do that in a one go. It can be done. I think 10,000. Are you doing 10,000 at a time, or are you doing it in one go?
One go.
Yeah, one go. So if you're working with good brass, 20,000 is acceptable. But if you got some thin, cheap brass, we've had some situations like you did with that Nosler brass where you got to go 10,000 stepped at a time. Otherwise, you run into that issue.
On that, is it because the brass is just not like heat treated, or how is it just shit brass, or how does that work? Because I have not cracked one ADG brass necking down from 6.5 to 6.
Yeah, I guess brass alloy percentages and thickness. Thickness is probably the major contributor. Most awesome brass like ADG Peterson, you're looking at 14 or 15 thousandths neck thickness. When we get down into Hornady and some cheaper stuff like that, it can 13 and 12, and I imagine that has something to do with it. It could even be the shoulder angle could contribute to that. But yeah, necking down 6.5 SOM to 6 SOM worked really well. We gave it a try. Once we necked it down, we threw a 115 grain bullet in there, and we loaded it to where the boat tail bearing surface datum was lined up with the neck shoulder datum, and it was right at 2,950. So it was like it was meant to be.
Actually, it meant to be, and the free bore is a very interesting.
Oh, I should have brought the damn reamer print in here.
226 thousandths.
Well, so how we had that reamer made was basically sending a dummy round to JGS and let them do the legwork on the reamer spec and all that good stuff. So if you guys want to run this, it's not a privately owned reamer spec or whatever. Just ask for the 6 SOM improved or the 6UM from JGS, and they'll get you a reamer. But
yes,
6.5 SOM brass neck down to 6, and then shoulder blown out to 46 SOM improved.
Yep, and it will 100% fit in a short action.
Yeah, with the 115 all the way out.
Yep, and it looks perfect. So to even go back to the beginning, is the reason I had this in my mind is 6 Creedmoor. I've watched, I've shot, I've seen a lot of animals get shot by 6 Creedmoor, and it's always the kid round, right? It's always Jim Carr's daughters.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, man, those things are just getting whacked. I mean, they are just dropping, and I'm not talking like 100 yards. I'm talking 400 or 500 and 600 yards shot with a 108 ELDM out of a 6 Creedmoor. So I was getting talking with Forum and asking him a bunch of questions, pretty knowledgeable on it, and getting with you. And I guess the reason why should you buy one? And my thing is this, is if you are believing the Litz Wes calculator, if you put a 6UM into the Wes calculator out to 1,000 yards, the hits, the hit efficiency combined with the recoil is almost second to none.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're getting hits like a big Magnum, a big 30 cal Magnum, first round hits, hit probability at let's say 800 yards with a rifle that kicks like a 6.5 Creedmoor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the biggest thing. There's a reason that like if you go to the 6mm category in PRS, that it runs the show.
Yeah, 6 Dasher is basically the front of the pack at the moment.
It's perfect, recoil. I mean, it doesn't really matter recoil so much to them, but as far as speed, BC as a collective, it's where it like all comes together. Mm-hmm. Well, it's no different in a hunting size rifle. It's the reason that pretty much NRL Hunter, they've made it so a power factor, you cannot even use a 6mm.
Mm-hmm.
So if you calculate that in the Wes calculator,
because they make it so it's 115 grain max size bullet, and they say the fastest they'll let it go is 3,200. Correct. That's what the guys were just telling me. So you literally can't reach power.
Yep, because it's called the cheater caliber. Well, to me, you put a 115 grain bullet in there, and we'll talk about the bullet in a minute. And literally, my son, we just went to Texas and shot some nilgai pigs, and the first thing out of his mouth, and he shot quite a bit, is when he shot his nilgai, he's like, "Dad, that thing has no recoil." Like none, because he's used to shooting 300 ultras, big 338s, and that's the first thing you notice. So when doesn't matter if you're a kid, doesn't matter if you're a grown up, the power that it has for the recoil it has is the reason for making it.
Mm-hmm.
The downside would be the fucking fireforming.
Mm-hmm. Fireforming and barrel life, it is pretty fucking overbore.
Yep, and if you do the little bore to whatever ratio, it's a little better than a 28 nozzler. I've burned down a 28 nozzler and it was like in the 700. So I think if you're nice to it, you'll get 800, like rum kind of lifespan.
Yeah. We always say in a hunting rifle, 800 rounds is a lifetime.
Most people lie to themselves and think they shoot a lot, but I saw a thing, I think it was from the Outdoor Life. The average person shoots like 16 rounds a year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and if it's this, fancy hunting rifle that you built, it's all load developed, and you may have 100 rounds through it, and you load a couple 100 rounds and it sits there. I mean, you're not going out and having fun at the range with it. At least you shouldn't be.
No, it's no different to me. Like we have a 33XC. It's built for a certain purpose.
Killing machine.
Killing stuff. It's not a plinker.
We don't practice.
No. What was that saying? We don't kill still. What was that?
Oh man, I made him a t-shirt and everything.
Oh.
Yeah.
We kill for real, we not steal or something.
Yeah, there you go. We shoot for real, not for steal.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. The next thing is, go ahead.
I don't know. 6 SOM improved. Go ahead.
Oh no. I was going to say, you got it. This is like the elephant in the room. What does the 6UM stand for?
Oh. Well, that was Ryan's choice to name it 6UM.
Truthfully, no. Blaine came up with that.
Or Blaine came up with it. Obviously,
yeah.
UM is unknown munitions.
Yeah. Or
now,
is it?
Or is it?
Or is it?
The only reason is because when I called JGS, they had to create the reamer spec because nobody had ever ordered a 6 SOM improved reamer. So we're like, well, shit, no one's ever done it before. Now we got to make our own deal. That's kind of how.
Right.
We didn't make anything. It's nothing fucking fancy. To be honest with you, there's really no cartridge. It doesn't matter if it's brand new tomorrow. It's not going to be anything fancy. It's just a different shape of brass.
Yeah, and that's why there's some people out there making these other 6mm.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like making it private. You can't get the reamer. You got to get the dies through them.
Yeah.
And that's not what and Jake could have done that. Jake paid for the reamer. So Jake could have locked it all up, but he didn't. So you can call, like you said, call JGS. You can get the reamer and you can call Witten and you can order a die.
I mean, in reality, anybody could take any cartridge, neck it down, neck it up, make a dummy round. This is the process for your wildcatting, right? So you make a dummy round out of some existing cartridge, and we'll call that the parent cartridge. And then you send it to JGS or a reamer builder, and you say, hey, build a reamer for this dummy round, but I want it with a 40-degree shoulder. You want it to be improved. And now all of a sudden you have this custom cartridge that nobody else has. And then you get this reamer. You chamber a barrel with it. Any gunsmiths would do that for you. And then you fire form a few pieces of brass. You send that brass to Witten to make you some custom dies for $400. And now you have a one-off, completely custom cartridge that you can name whatever the fuck you want. And you've started that whole process yourself from beginning to end. And it's not you know, of course it's unique and it's just for you. And maybe you say, yeah, this is just, I'm going to call it the 6 Ryan Avery and nobody else will ever have this because I have the spec and yada, yada, yada. But you can make any cartridge you want in reality. Improved is nothing new. Necking down a cartridge up or down is not new. There's really no new cartridges. Even, you know, 8.6 Blackout was a 6.5 Creedmoor parent case, you know, as an example.
Yep.
And, you know, a guy that's going to neck down a 6.5 PRC to a 6 or blow out the shoulder and neck it down to a 6. This is nothing new.
No.
We're not doing nothing new. But at the time, nobody had made that reamer. And to me, it was pretty cool that with a 115 grain largest for caliber bullet loaded all the way out, it fit perfectly into a short action. So it's like it was meant to be. But yeah, that was a long ramble.
It is, but not, I mean, you can cover a lot of shit. But the thing is there's a lot of them that are, you know, wildcatted that don't really do much. To me, this did a lot because it took a case, it literally put probably 250 feet per second the way we did it.
Yeah, I mean, a 115 at 3,400 feet a second that was a 20-inch barrel.
Yep.
That's fucking screaming.
It is. I mean, that's like at the end of its pressure line, but A, it hadn't been done before, and B, it pretty much made the best out of that case that a 6 miller probably short action 6 millimeter could probably do.
I guarantee it's about the best it can do. And C, it's not even plus P yet.
I was gonna definitely get to that part. But what's the parent case? That's a question. It's a 6.5 Psalm.
Yeah, ADG makes the brass. Technically, you could use 7 Psalm brass also. 7 Psalm being a 284 down to a 243, that would be a 40 thou jump. And I would recommend doing at least, you know, a minimum of 2 steps there. So 20 thou per on that ADG brass if you needed to.
Yeah.
But we are, like Ryan just confirmed, we are necking down. I'm sure he could post up. We'll post up the bushing size that you're using. Whitten does have the reamer specs from us. And I actually just ordered sizing die reamers. So I ordered the matching reamers that you use to make dies for those cartridges from JGS. They're on their way right now.
Yeah.
So we can make our own dies basically. For JGS, when you have an account with them, you don't get a discount if they're custom dies. The only way to get a discount is to have that die sizing reamer made and then send it to them, and then you got to order 10 sets. And then they'll give you the normal discount. Yeah.
So on that, the brass availability, how does that look for 6.5 Psalm, 6.5 Psalm, or 7 Psalm 2?
For those guys that are asking us to build 6 UMs for them, we do have brass on hand. And there'll be obviously some fire forming costs there. We don't have it exactly pinned down, but we do have a guy that's doing it for us with some blank barrels, so you won't be blowing out your barrel. And there is another run of Psalms happening in July, August from ADG, so we'll have even more on the way then. Yeah.
All right, we covered this. The coal is 2.95.
Yeah, 295 all the way out.
And it will fit in a short action. It fits in a Tika. It'll load into long action. I have no doubts. Fire forming steps, we kind of covered that. I did it in one shot. You can do it in 2 with 6.5. You definitely need to do it with 2 with the 7 Psalm.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember the exact steps, but they are on Rockside, and I'll post them up.
We could post the bushing size, the neck down bushing size for ADG 6.5 Psalm brass. That should be pretty consistent, though. You can post the number.
What was funny is that I think it was on Rockside, but it may have been in the DMs when I posted it up on Instagram. But a guy talked about that I would see shitty ESs after my first fire form, and you need to shoot it 2 or 3 times. But when I just went to Texas, the unknown loaded up 50 rounds for me, and I shot 10 of them, and my ES was 14.
Nice.
So
he may be referring to the fact that it might take a few firings to fully form the brass. Right. That may have been what he was.
Yeah, and it didn't seem to.
But it looked. The forming was pretty fantastic at the first firing. Now, of course, we're not pussyfooting it either. We're stepping on it pretty good.
We're shooting a 110 SMK with a 58 grains of 78-28.
Yeah. So it's being stepped on pretty good. Normally, if you're going to fire form, you don't use your best stuff.
Right.
But I think that load did a pretty good number.
It did. 14 ES, 10 shots. That's pretty damn good to me.
Mm-hmm.
H2O. We measured this twice, and we got 75 once and 73. So we're going to say the H2O capacity is 74.
And remember, what did we measure? We measured 6.5 PRC.
With 7 PRC.
7 PRC at the same time.
Yep, and it was 80, and this was 70. When we did it with you, it was 73.
Okay.
So we're going to go with a solid 74 for H2O capacity.
For those guys that don't know, there's a couple things we talked about. So we just talked about H2O capacity. Basically, put a primer in your case, fill it up to the top with water, weigh it before and after. You get the amount of water, which is a consistent measurement for the volume of the case. You don't really want to use powder as a measure of volume because powder can have different volume due to the kernel size and whatnot. So you don't want to say, oh, my case holds 60 grains of H1000. Well, that doesn't really compare to things. So they use H2O capacity to compare one cartridge to another and that's directly related to the horsepower of the cartridge is the volume of the case. Maybe we measured a standard 6.5 SAUM against that'd be a good measurement too, but
yeah, I don't remember that.
The other thing that Ryan talked about was the WES analysis. So for those of you that don't know, WES is a program from Applied Ballistics. It's called Weapon Employment Zone. And it is a valuable tool that you can enter in the parameters of a bullet going a certain velocity and environmental factors like wind. So you can evaluate the accuracy over, what does it usually do, 100 rounds?
You can put it in.
You can put as many rounds as you want to run, but it's giving you the percentage of hits on target. And then you can add, say, a 10 mile an hour full value crosswind, and then you can evaluate it again to see how much wind is affecting your hit rate.
Yep.
But if you want to compare two cartridges at distance, especially if you're looking for the one that not only hits the most but requires less of a wind call, in other words, it doesn't drift as much, so you get more hits on target at that distance. That's a really, really good tool. It's not that expensive.
No, and it's addicting.
Yes, because you just gonna sit there and keep making.
Yeah.
Oh, he's throwing it up there. Oh.
Yeah, you start out with. I always start out with like these big magnums. I was putting like 300 Terminators and 300 Rums, and then that's what got me thinking about the 6UM because I believe I put in a 6.5 300 Weatherby. I was looking at that, and then I don't remember if I was talking. I talked so much about 6mm crap. I was either talking to
when Ryan gets stuck on something.
Yeah, I like keep going. Anyways, I was talking to Form. I was talking to Jake, and I was like, "Well, if I could push it, blah blah blah." At this, and he's like, "Everybody." Anyways, it kept coming back to a 6mm for the recoil part, and I was like, "Well, damn."
Yeah. So then moving into, the fact that you're using this as a hunting rifle, I would give some. This is not in your notes. I'm just pulling shit off now.
That's the best kind.
Okay.
Do a little freelancing.
I would have never, and may never, select a 6mm as my killing caliber.
Loser.
You were kind of the same way, maybe, before the 6UM. I know you killed some stuff with the 6 Crete. Listen, if you're going to go after a whitetail, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about basically elk. Like elk would be the deciding factor. And I don't know that I would ever I would never take a 6 Creedmoor to kill an elk. I'll just say that. But you've shown me some pictures now of what this 115 nose ringed tub DTAC bullet is doing to animals, and it's fucking it's impressive to the point you ask yourself, why am I shooting a 33XC? Or why am I shooting a 300 Rum? If this 6mm bullet to 1,000 yards can just demolish this elk like that, like why am I shooting such a big cartridge? But anyways, that'll be, and I may never do it just because of that, right? But hands-on experience is the only thing that can change your mind.
Yeah, and most of this came from people keep telling me something doesn't happen or you can't do.
Yeah, it was like the 300 Rum with a 20-inch barrel.
Yeah,
can never do it.
Exactly.
Can never do it.
Would never burn all the powder.
Yeah, can never burn the powder. You'll never get good extreme spread and it's single-digit ES.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. But am I gonna get rid of the 33XC sitting behind me? Hell no. Because the one thing that UM can't do is if I start shooting deep, like I start shooting well past 1,000 yards, a 115 ain't gonna leave much of a splash if I fuck something up. To where a 300 grain bullet, I'm gonna see the splash all the time. So there's a no win, no lose situation, I guess. But barrel life and barrel twist. So barrel life, like we talked about, a little better than a 28 Nosler, which is a lifetime for most people.
And some guys might be wondering like where that information came from, because that's what I would, if I heard you say that and I didn't know, I would say, what the hell is he talking about against a 28 Nosler? So there's a overbore calculation that has to do with the case capacity versus the caliber of the bullet. And it's like that grain capacity we're talking about, reference, and there's an equation that you figure out, and people have built charts using this equation to show cartridges that are not overbore. And when it's not overbore, it means that it'll have longer barrel life, that it's less abrasive in the throat area.
Yeah, like a 308, you're going to get like 5,000 rounds.
Exactly. And it's because of, and it's not the whole barrel you're ever worried about. It's literally the area called the throat or the free bore, the lands that's directly in front of the neck where all that pressure and heat comes out. If you have a whole shitload of powder coming out of a really small hole, that's overbore. And that's the calculation that he's talking about.
Yeah. And do you guys have it on your website?
We probably should.
Yeah, you probably should. Write that down, Lukey.
Mm-hmm.
And then twist rate, barrel twist rate. I mean, you can get away shooting them really fast. I'm running a 1-7, but you could probably run a 1-7 or 1-8, probably with a 115.
It's going fast enough; it'll be fine.
Yeah, because it's going to make a spiral.
At a 20 inches, 3,400 feet a second, you could probably get away with a 9 if we did the math. Maybe.
Yep. I've never even looked what a 115 actually calls for, to tell you the truth. But anyways, I'm running a 1-7 because I don't really think you can overspin them. So that's that bullet. The bullet's an interesting thing because I've never even heard of a nose ring DTAC until I started on this project. Had you?
I had heard a lot of PRS guys shoot 115 DTACs out of 6 Creed. And so because of that, I had already heard of the bullet, and I've seen the whole nose ring deal. I read into it a little bit, but I had never linked the 2 points that, maybe that nose ring is going to help break the front of the bullet off and create 2 wound channels. Like that, that's nothing I ever thought about because I never thought about killing with a 6 mil. But I can see now,
So David Tubbs did it to, apparently, to get into the nitty gritty, it like stabilizes the ESs somehow, or the BC. I don't really remember how it works.
Yeah, it'd probably be the BC.
Sorry, the BC.
Yeah.
Stabilizes the BC. But then he went over into Africa and shot some animals, I think baboons and stuff. And he figured out that it's a really good killing bullet. And it kills in 2 ways. If it hits, people got to look into, terminal. We have a podcast hopefully coming one day with terminal.
Hopefully one day.
Terminal performance. But if it's going fast enough and basically the tip gets a little bit of force on the side, it snaps off and it'll mushroom if it's going fast enough, like a traditional bullet. If it's not going fast enough, it's going under 2,000, under 1,800 feet per second, the tip snaps off and the bullet tumbles. And what I've seen when the bullet does tumble, it's just catastrophic. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. If you do have enough speed, it's traditional fragmenting, match bullet. When there's not enough speed, it tumbles.
That reminds me of something that Form said. Is it Form, F-O-R-M, or Forum?
Form, F-O-R-M. He has a name, it's a Formaldeus or some shit on the oxide.
Form.
But I call him Form.
Something he said when he was here, which is the podcast Ryan's referring to that at some point is going to come out. He said that the bullet doesn't actually hit straight on.
No, it's not.
When we were talking about a Burger 215 at the time, I think.
Yep. It's coming in yod, is what he called it.
Yeah.
Yod up.
Which really doesn't work in my brain very well, but.
So what he was alluding to in that is there's also another podcast that Aaron Davidson from Gunworks talked about, especially in burger bullets and in like these stronger, harder match bullets. They J-hook a lot. So they turn.
J-hook, yeah.
They J-hook and they, like a lot of times bullets are going backwards in the animal. And
basically, as soon as it hits the animal, it makes an abrupt turn that you wouldn't expect.
Yep. And people argue it. And then there was a guy that did a bunch of, high-speed video proof of it.
Yeah, and that's where Form was basically referring to was impacts on gel and seeing what's happening right when it hits.
Yep, they J-hook, they come apart, they tumble.
J-hook.
Yep. So that's why the 115 DTAC is such a great bullet for
and maybe the 250, maybe some of these bullets like a 215 hybrid just J-hook more than another bullet might.
The burgers in general J-hook.
Burgers in general.
Because anything with a tip seems to implode better. It starts that initiation. So like the Form was saying in that one that like a ELDM's within 2 inches, it starts to open. Our burger's 4 inches. So it has more time to start turning instead of starting to get, mushroomed. Definitely not my strong point, but it is a very interesting.
He gave a fantastic explanation. So as soon as somebody gets off their ass and edit that podcast,
as soon as
it's going
Luke
to be
gets
awesome.
this shit figured out. All right, powders. I had my doubts when Jake and Blaine told me that 570, because I love 570, would be the powder. Well, me and Nick, who does Jake's load dev, did 10 different powders, and the clear winner is 570.
What was it? What was the? Do you remember what the couple runners up were?
26.
Well, yeah.
It was a weird one. 19. Reloader 19.
Interesting.
26. We also ran, I think it was 4831 did all right. They all did okay.
26 and N570 are generally, they're both double base powders. They're both relatively known for highest velocity.
Yep.
You get that trade-off because it's got, the double base means it has the additional nitroglycerin added in for extra. It's higher temperature, but it's more pressure and more velocity.
And it eats barrels. There's no way around
it. Does eat, and in fact, I read about a test that Brian Litz did where it was something like 1,000 rounds in a row through a barrel or 2,000 rounds. It was a direct comparison between 565 and 570. And they found 570 to be much more caustic than the 565 was. In other words, it wore the barrel out a lot faster. And he actually, Litz ran 300 normal with 565 and those 245 long range hybrids when he won that Night Force ELR challenge recently. And I had never thought we've been using 565 actually in a lot more cartridges than we used to because of this. Not that the 570 is fantastic and it'll still always be the one for me, but 565 does really well in a lot of cartridges that 570 does. Mm-hmm. So if you're worried about increasing barrel life or something like that, that could be a good switch for you.
And like those mid grade, like 6.5 SOM, 6.5 PRC, that 565 is freaking fantastic.
Oh man, 565 and a PRC is hands down that's the king of speed.
Fantastic.
And so I started saying, so RL26 can generally go neck and neck with 570 in the right cases, but RL26 is not temp stable like 570 is.
Especially lot to lot. I've blown primers.
Yeah.
Lot to lot with 26.
570 is super consistent from lot to lot and very temp stable, very predictable. And it's one of those powders where in almost any cartridge that 570 is going to work well in, it does fantastic all the way full. Like you almost don't have to guess where it's going to shoot well. You just fill it all the way up. Use the back of a sonic toothbrush to settle the powder down because they're big kernels. And it almost always shoots well.
I love 570.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and 23 did okay, but not as well as we thought.
Mm-hmm.
I try to stay away from all of the RL powders if I can.
Yeah,
I've never had a love for them,
and they haven't been available almost at all. Some guys are saying the new 7 PRC from Hornady has RL26 in it, and maybe that's where all the powder from Alliance been going.
Certainly looks like it.
If you guys are a 570 fan, I do know that a giant ship hit recently, and 570 is flooding out into the market at the moment. So keep your eyes open. What day is it? I should tell them what day this is if they hear it.
Yeah.
This was Friday, the 21st of April. And 570's out there.
Any burgers coming?
156s are coming right now. So if you're 150, and those haven't been out for since last hunting season, I think is the last time we saw 156s.
Really?
Yeah. It's been 6 months.
The next thing people are going to ask is, have you seen any 215s laying around?
215s. Now Burger themselves on Instagram fucking said that they were going to run 215s into this year until the back order list was gone. I can tell you I still have a shit ton of them on back order. So I don't know if they quit running them or whatever might have happened. Hey, if you're a burger guy and you're listening, email us at podcast@shootthehunt.com. But I didn't get on my 215s.
No. You just got a little bit.
A little bit. Like not even maybe 100 boxes total between the few different shipments that they sent.
Is that really like the only company that you see? We're going on a tangent here, but the only company you see that's lagging, or is other companies lagging? And like, is Hornady lagging in a bullet? Is Nosler lagging in a bullet?
Well, Hornady's too good for us, so we can't get a direct account. But we buy.
Come on, Hornady.
I will tell you that Capstone Group owns Lapua, Burger. They are the sole importer of Vitvery powder from Europe, and SK Ammo. So when we order Burger or Lapua Brass, etc., it's a direct order with Capstone Group, and we've been with them for 4 years now since we started business. And the shipments that we're getting from Capstone right now are multiple years of orders coming in at one time.
How many years back?
2 years.
Oh my God.
So like they just sent us an entire pallet of 300 PRC brass that was 2 years worth of orders. So what that tells me about the market right now is that I don't think they're magically getting a much larger supply than they did. Mm-hmm. And we may be very low on the totem pole, but the fact that my 215s haven't been filled makes me think that a lot of people are backing out of big orders that they had placed, and we just don't back out on our orders is all. We're taking
you
it.
think it's kind of slowing down? Do you think?
Component sales have definitely slowed down. Like I have big stockpiles of brass back there that I have brass in the shop right now that wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes on the website 2 years ago. So I don't know how that's going to swing. I mean, we don't make as much ammo as we used to. There's a lot more to the business now, but I'd just say that, components are stacking up. Primers still aren't coming in, and most Magnum powders are not coming in. So Hodgdon still will not sell us, or we have an account with Hodgdon, but they will not sell any extreme powder to us.
That's bullshit.
That's H1000, H4350, Varget, 4831 shortcut, Retumbo, even IMR 8208XBR is included in that line. And what most people don't know is that Hodgdon doesn't even make powder. Hodgdon just contracts factories in different parts of the country. Like all these extreme powders are made in Australia. And yeah, it's their chemical composition, all that good stuff, but they don't actually make powder.
What's their reasoning for not selling directly to you?
They do sell direct, but we're so
stuff.
low on the totem pole and late to the feeder. Like we were still to the feeder before COVID, but still too late. And I'm sure I don't know all of the information, and I'm sure there's more to it, but I know that the military consumes a lot of what they do. Mm-hmm. And in times of war, which we're not at war, but it is a time of war still, countries are stockpiling and military comes first. We get we get the fucking scraps just as a whole. All of the reloading market in the USA, we get the scraps that are left on the bottom of the bin when they fill everybody else up.
It's interesting that they're trying to disarm us, but they're also taking all the ammunition.
Yeah.
Funny how that works.
Yeah.
That's a whole other caveat.
Yes.
Anyways, the powder for it is 570. And the next best powder is loader 26, and it goes.
You don't see that anymore. Yeah.
You don't, because it's fucking all in Hornady's ammo.
Yeah.
But it's a drop off from 570 to 26, then there's a huge drop off in velocity. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to do it, get with Jake, get some 570.
We have a shit ton.
There you go. Oh. Okay, barrel length and speed. And I'm going off of one barrel, and I'll give you the speeds. So I'm shooting right now, I'm shooting a 20-inch barrel, and it's shooting them at 3290. And that's a very conservative number. I could do 3350. It just didn't love it. So right now it's shooting 3290.
And most guys might not have that short of a barrel too. I think, a general rule of thumb is 25 feet per second per inch. So if you go out to 26, that's an additional 150 feet per second if that's what you're looking for.
Yep. And if I wanted to mess with it, and like everything with me is under a time crunch, I could do 3330, 3340 and get it to where I wanted it. I hit a seating depth. It was 60 off. It shot really, really good. And I just left it there at 3290. Mm-hmm. But 33, I will say easily 33 and a little more at 20 inches.
Have you ever, do you believe that in the physical world, that bullets flying over 3,200 feet per second can do some weird things? I've heard this many times in business history so far.
I keep hearing this. I believed it, but here's what I've seen with this and what I've seen with the Terminator. The Terminator was right at the 32. Is once I got a good BC, I didn't see random, like I hear like Aaron Davison, which the guy knows what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. He says random flyers. He shoots more than me, but I have not seen that once. I do see BC problems at 32 and 33. They're not exactly what they say they are on the box.
Well, most BCs, like if you take Burger bullets, for example, the BC on the box is averaged from 2,600 to 3,000 feet per second. Mm-hmm. So automatically, just by Burger telling you that, you know that your BC is going to be better as soon as you get over 3,000.
So I have not seen that. And I've shot, and there's not a lot of rounds that I've like witnessed hitting steel with this. Like this isn't, but the ones that I've shot, the ones that Nick shot and the ones that I've shot, they all hit what they're aiming at.
I wonder too what system Tub might use to determine the BCs of his bullets. I don't know that he has his own, Doppler radar station like
no
Applied Ballistics does.
And the third thing is I just got a different cut There's like a couple different cuts of nose rings. So I believe the D-tack is 624 or 620 is what the D-tack is by itself. But I just been running them off of Forum because Forum has shot a pile of these, 600, and it's been spot on.
You said there's a couple different types of nose rings.
Yeah, there's 3 that I know of. There's a 20,000th. There's a 40 cut into the tip of the bullet. There's a 20,000th. I just got some. They're between 40 and 50,000. I don't know exactly which. And then there's like a plunge cut.
And are these options you pick on the site, or these are just revisions over history?
I had to call them and ask them.
Oh shit!
So they give you the ones I had shot things with were the 20,000s, but I've witnessed with Form. My uncle shot a cow elk at 970 with a 6XE, and he was using the deep cuts, and I noticed that it was violently bigger wound channel.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked them if they'd cut me 1,000
with a deep cut,
and I just got them yesterday.
Oh shit! Nice.
So they have all killed. I would not hunt with a non-nose ring D-tack. They're tipped, they're pointed, they're not going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
You'd need a nose ring.
You're counting on that tip breaking off and creating a new wound channel.
It has to break off.
Yeah. Okay.
Or at least bend.
Did he tell you anything about what that deep cut? I guess you believe that deep cut will break off at a lower velocity.
Correct.
Basically, it's your new expansion velocity.
Correct.
Huh.
But what I wonder, and I'll know soon, is will it change the BC? Well, I signed up for the Doppler radar.
It has to.
When we go to, it's deeper and it's not straight. It's at an angle.
Yeah, but any change to the bullet like that is going to change the BC. You don't know.
Yeah, but how much? Like,
yeah, exactly.
A ton. But so I'm signed up for the Doppler for when we go
confirmed and all that?
The night first. Yep. I just got to go there between 8 and 4:30 the Friday. And I'm going to shoot those deep cuts.
That's when we go to the Night Force ELR Challenge. We're pretty excited because the rifles are coming together, and Applied Ballistics comes out with a trailer with a big ass Doppler radar, and they will give you a personal drag model for the bullet coming out of your rifle, which is pretty badass. So we're gonna we'll be out there and have Luke with us, and he's gonna film this whole process as long as they let us, and that way you guys can have a look at it on the YouTube.
Yep, he said you bring 10 to 12 rounds, you shoot it over. It takes about an hour. And they go through they diagram out what happened with that bullet.
All 10 to 12? Or they're looking for...
No idea. It says you have to bring 10 to 12 to shoot over the Doppler.
I would imagine they don't do it on one. They're looking at some type of average.
Probably an average, just like an ES or, some kind of section or DA or who knows.
Huh. That'd be freaking awesome to see.
Or S, yeah. So I think the whole thing, he said, takes an hour. I want to make sure 10 to 12 bullets, and then they'll go through what actually went down. So be interesting to see. And you can look on their website and they'll tell you where they're going to be. And sometimes you have to pay for it, but they're going to be there and they say it's free at the, if you're shooting the challenge, it's free. So that's pretty cool.
Damn. Should have signed up.
You still can go sign up.
Well, I guess we should know with pretty good certainty what our 198 tip BC is going to be by the time we get there.
I think we'll have a good idea. The reason I wanted to do those nose rings is because it's an oddity kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
The reamer and dies. So Jake has a reamer.
Yeah, I walked you guys through that pretty good, but JGS was the one that made us the reamer. I didn't put any private anything on it. So if they happen to, you guys can email us for the reamer spec if they give you any shit when you try to order it. The dies, we ordered Widden dies also off the reamer spec, and we will be carrying those. Like I said, the JGS sizing reamers are on their way, and I'll be sending that to Widden to get large batches of those dies made. It's actually, so when I say dies, it's because we're doing a 6 SAUM improved and a 6.5 SAUM improved. If you're interested in either one of those, we will have dies on hand. We can provide reamer specs. We can provide gunsmithing. We can chamber your barrel. We have a full machine shop, and we're very easy to work with and definitely customer friendly. So, any questions at all? Call if you can't get through on the phone. Email sales@unknownmunitions.com. And just so you know, a chamber is 365. Muzzle threads are 135. So generally $500 without timing a break. $40 more to time the break.
Oh yeah, and then you can plus PM too.
Oh yeah, we plus P in house also. That's $200 more because of the licensing agreement.
And I plan to do a 16-inch plus P here soon. as soon as the
I don't
barrel
know.
shows up.
Should be soon.
Oh, I hope
Should
so.
be soon.
I'm excited.
Carbon
about
barrels
that.
are showing up from that order already from April.
Are they?
Yeah.
So it'll be a 16-inch, 6 plus PED. I'll post up all this shit.
Well,
on
that's
the
another
website.
that may be an eye opener for some of these guys listening who are talking about ordering barrels and shit. So I ordered Ryan's barrel April of 22, and it's still not here.
My God.
And that same order has approximately 50 barrels in it, and the first barrels from that order, which were some carbons, just showed up. So 12 months plus it took to get a couple carbon barrels from Benchmark.
I did see a bunch of Ace barrels come in today.
Oh, yeah, Ace Barrels just brought us a big old delivery. So if you guys want to try, it's not something new. Ace Barrels has been the barrel supplier for Voodoo rifles since day one, and they are phenomenally straight, very easy to machine and gunsmith. So if you're a rifle builder out there, they fucking dial in 5 minutes, and they cut very, very clean. There are several options in stock on our website. If there's a spec you'd like to see, just reach out. We'll be stocking these all the time. They're right down the street from us, and just a great bunch of guys. So we're looking to support local and try and get some lead times down on barrels after what I just described to you from Benchmark. And we can also send them out for fluting at Camp Feld up in Sandpoint, so it can all be done in one shot for you. We'll carry everything in 26 and 30 inches. They can be cut down to any length and then fluted and then shipped out to you. They can even be, if you want to just ship in your action, it's easy enough. We can just get it all set up for you.
Nick just shot a 300 PRC at .18.
Yes. Yeah, it's a fucking hammer.
It's like one hole.
In fact, we're going to turn that one. That was just a test, but now we're going to turn it into a rifle.
So, anyways, last question on here is the custom Tikas from that's a rock slide question. And the add on is why no prefits? So custom Tikas from when's that going to happen?
We will make prefits for bat machine only. Any bat action you'd like a prefit for, we can handle that. We have enough experience with bat for the consistency, and we have literally bat is 5 minutes from my shop. So any issue we ever had, even if we needed to check it on action, we have that option to us. Prefits in general, I guess I should describe. So when we say prefit, you're basically saying I want a gunsmith to machine a barrel for me that I'm going to spin on at home. It is a real shouldered barrel that I'm going to torque. And after said torque, it is going to be in perfect headspace alignment. Headspace off by even 0.02 of an inch means that you can or cannot close your bolt. So if you picture 2,000, so again, a beard hair is 8,000. So if I cut my beard hair long ways into 4 pieces, this is the amount of play that you have to deal with when creating a shouldered prefit barrel. Now, if the action manufacturer is not consistent enough with their machining practices, well, that means the prefit barrel won't fit every action, and this is why most guys say I need the action in hand so that we can physically screw the action on the barrel and make adjustments as needed to ensure that your headspace is perfect. Like I said, we can do that for bat machine because we have all the bat actions on hand and we have the ability to test them even if we don't have your action. Guys that are doing Tika prefits and things like that, that's great. Maybe they have something figured out that we don't, but what it relies on is the consistency of the action headspace. And yeah, so that's all that. So we're not going to do prefits for anything but a bat. If you want a prefit for a bat, just shoot us an email. We'll take care of it. The custom Tika rifles that we are going to be building, we have partnered up with Macmillan to run their Game Warden long range and their Game Warden 2.0 in a Tika inlet. We are going to be putting Ace barrels on them with a stainless pro brake, using the existing bottom metal and magazine that it comes with, and adjusting the trigger spring. We're going to be able to build custom rifles in a select amount of cartridges, around the $2,700 to $2,800 price point. And that would be painted nicely, Cerakoted all matchy-matchy. It'll look like a really great rifle for $2,700 to $2,800 and again, a quality handmade steel barrel. There will be upgrades available if you want to upgrade to carbon or fluting or fancy Cerakote, that kind of stuff.
TI brake maybe.
Or a TI brake, anything like that. Even a custom bottom metal and mag from Mountain Tactical. We may be working on some stuff like that ourselves to kind of complement this program. But yeah, Tikka's and Ryan has been a big supporter of the Tikka brand and kind of convinced me, I would say, that there's room for that. And really what we're trying to do, it's a different price point to hit a different customer group. And if the Tikka can shoot just as well, then we're good with it. But yeah, so custom Tikka rifles, and that's kind of already started. We don't have all the products up on the website yet, but if you're interested in one of those stocks, a Game Warden Long Range or 2.0, those have already been on order for some time, and we will stock those for sale as well as use them in the custom builds. Ace barrels are already on the website. And if you have a Tikka already action that you want to build a custom on, we can do that for you. Anything like that, just reach out to us. There is a rifles extension when you call the business line, or it's also rifles@unknownmunitions.com.
Yes, and we are diligently working on Tikka rings, so no need to call.
Dude, I'm getting you're blowing that up on I just told a guy, like, right before we started this, I said, yeah, there's going to be a Rockside pre-sale before they hit, kind of thing. And so what Ryan's saying is that we are making Tikka rings that will clamp directly onto the Tikka rail that's on top of the action. They will have multiple pin locations with a little threaded pin so that you can move the ring forward and backwards. They will be available in 30 and 34 millimeter and 1-inch heights to start. The price point will be around $125, and design is already done. First prototyping should take place before the end of the month.
They'll be done right.
And once we have tested prototypes that are functioning fantastic and we're ready to move into production, Rockslide is going to do a pre-order sale through Rockslide, maybe $100, something like that. We haven't figured out the details, but you guys will be able to jump on that as a Rockslide member and be first in line.
I think that's about it.
Okay.
Did we forget anything?
I don't think so. Feel like we're going to get a little busier.
Yep, I believe so. Well, if you guys like what you're hearing, please leave us a review. We are going to start giving out monthly swag packs. We'll probably in the next 2 podcasts, we will give the first one away. If you have any information or we're lying to you or we're telling you truths, please send us an email at podcast@shoottohunt.com, or you can get on Instagram and DM us. So anyways, Jake.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening.